Hi. About a year ago, I prepared a study that shows how the history of farming in America is about to repeat itself. In the 1920s, America experienced a farming crisis that led to the Dust Bowl. 60 years later, the next generation of technological and market factors launched a second wave of family farm closures. Each time, nearly every farmer was forced to change. These are my 5 steps to a farm crisis. When I presented a year ago, only 4 of the steps had been checked. What does it look like today? The oversupply of commodities, especially corn, is pushing prices to all-time lows. Here's a recent report from Reuters. Global corn stockpiles are set to reach 5-year highs later in 2024, undergoing their largest expansion in 7 years. Ample supplies and rival exporters have cut into U.S. market dominance, suggesting last year's huge U.S. corn acreage was excessive. USDA estimates that at the end of this year, ending stocks will be up 60%. Now, here we are, 40 years later, and the conditions of a farm crisis are fully in place. I've already talked about ethanol and pipelines. It's being planned to install pipelines across the Midwest to capture the CO2 being released from our ethanol plants. These plants release as much CO2 as 7 coal-fired power plants every day. This emission must be eliminated to be serious about addressing climate change. But who really thought that liquefying the gas at hundreds of ethanol plants and piping it underground into abandoned caverns is sequestering this emission? Fortunately, the people most affected by this are raising their voices, and they are being heard. The second focus of farmers is sustainable aviation fuel. SAF is defined as renewable or waste-driven fuel that meets sustainability criteria. Aviation contributes 2% to our CO2 emissions every day. That's about 1 billion metric tons per year. It's not really feasible today to stop planes from burning fuel. So the idea is to create a closed system to capture the equivalent CO2 released by airplanes and turn it back into fuel to be used on another flight. Farmers were told that their corn-based ethanol would be a prime candidate, but there's been a glitch. Some farmers say it's unfair. The glitch is the criteria that defines what qualifies for the tax rebate.
We're very frustrated with the report that come out from the Treasury for the SAF, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel, saying that we need to adopt a mandatory no-till, cover crops, and cut down on our fertilizer use efficiency. So it was very devastating to hear that it was mandatory in order to get our ethanol up to the grade to participate in the SAF production.
However, as we've seen in Illinois, farmers are not willing to adopt these practices. The STAR program, Saving Tomorrow's Agricultural Resources, which I've highlighted a number of times, offers a free program for farmers to adopt a step-by-step process to improve soil health and save input costs. After 10 years of promoting and advising farmers, still less than 0.3% of Illinois farmland is enrolled in the program. Farmers won't switch because it will reduce yields. And now with these drastically low corn prices, doing something to reduce yields is the last thing on their mind. So the number 3 thing on the farmer's mind is yield. Actually, yield is always number 1, but recently there's been plenty of negative news about the corn market that have added to their worries. The corn market is oversupplied, and as noted before, the corn price has dropped by almost 25% in the past year. The Farm Doc Advisory Service at the University of Illinois Extension has been doing something to warn farmers of this year's potential financial disaster. They first start with the good news. Corn yields will continue on its upward trend as it has for the past 70 years. The new genetic technologies of matched seed, herbicides, and insecticides have more to offer for increasing yields. Also on the good news front, the cost of inputs should come down. the price of seed and chemicals are estimated to stay flat, while the cost of chemical fertilizer is decreasing. However, when FarmDoc still puts all this good news into its production cost estimates, the cost per bushel for growing corn is still over $6 per bushel. So farmers are facing big losses. For a yield of 212 bushel, they're looking at a loss of $293 per acre. And for a yield of 222 bushel, it's $289, $4 less. Now extend that across the usual 1,000 acres a farmer plants each year, and you're talking some real money. But what can they do? At this moment, every farmer is out planting as much corn as they did last year. I guess they hope that the government direct payments will make up the difference, but it's not looking like the government is thinking that way. Today's farm economy is looking like the 1920s and the 1980s, with interest rates remaining high and commodity prices flattening towards record lows. The 1973 Farm Bill opened a door that, once ajar, allowed the relentless influx of big ag and big food corporations into the heart of American farming. The days the family farm served as an anchor for the rural economy while providing nutritious food has been plowed under by decades of U.S. farm programs. The next Farm Bill is to be passed this year, but it's stalled in Congress. There seems agreement the old model, now 50 years old, has to change. But how? For starters, maybe any direct payment is tied to the farmer using practices to regenerate the soil, eliminate runoff contaminations, and produce nutritious food. The next 10 years are going to be hard for farmers. Yes, these practices do cost more than growing corn from fence row to fence row. We all must work together to set up the next 50 years of farming. Tell somebody what you